Governor Susana Martinez is responding to a string of controversial comments.
These comments were made by the governor herself and her staff on secret recordings that have now gone viral, thanks to the liberal online magazine called Mother Jones.
What was said was out of frustration. What I said was in a private conversation.
The tapes were recorded before the governor was elected, basically 4 years ago. In them, Ms. Martinez curses at her opponent, Diane Denish, and talks about teachers being overpaid. Then in another tape, Martinez's campaign aide, whom you just saw, Matt Kennicott, mocks former State House Speaker Ben Lujan. Mr. Kennicott, now a spokesperson for the Human Services Department, says he was quoting someone else, and that was taken out of context. And the governor is standing by him this morning.
But I do have a disabled sister, and I remember people making fun of her. I remember being very upset when people would make fun of her. No, I don't think that it was appropriate to be said, but it was not a sentiment being communicated by Mr. Kennicott himself.
Democrats here in New Mexico have been slamming Governor Martinez for these remarks. They are calling for an apology, and the governor is declining to give one. Well, this morning, Albuquerque's mayor is also under attack.
Yeah, a former candidate for mayor, Paul Hayes, says he has enough signatures to file a petition to recall R.J. Berry. It only takes about 20 signatures to get that petition, but Hayes still needs nearly 24,000 to get the issue on the ballot. Now, this all stems from the fallout over APD's problems and the DOJ investigation, something Hay, a former APD sergeant, says he warned the mayor about long before the feds' findings came out.
And then he has the nerve to say that he didn't know any of this was going on till he read the DOJ report. You didn't know? I told you 5 years ago. I showed you how the transition reports were changed when you were taking office.
Now, Pate looks familiar. He should. He unsuccessfully ran for mayor last year against Berry.
6:03 now. Two public regulation commissioners are demanding the agency's chief of staff resign after violating a state policy and asking another worker to break the rules too. Last night on special assignment, we told you Vince Martinez here asked an employee to pick up his son and his son's girlfriend in a state vehicle and take them back to Santa Fe. Mr. Martinez's son and the friend were stranded after their car broke down near Raton. The state rules say if you do not work for the state, you cannot ride in a state car unless you get the state's General Services Department approval ahead of time. Well, that did not happen in this case, so GSD suspended the state vehicle driving privileges for Martinez and the other worker for 90 days.
If that state vehicle were to get in an accident, the state would be liable for the personal injury and any lawsuits that may come out of that.
Why couldn't you just have driven up to Raton and picked up your son and his friend?
I say you're probably absolutely right. Should have done that.
Well, there is much more to this story. You can check it out online anytime at KRQE.com or watch tonight at 9 o'clock on Tu Casa. Crystal?
The Justice Department is following up on last week's report hammering the Albuquerque Police Department for excessive use of force by planning a series of meetings with people and groups that have a big stake in APD reform. The meetings will start April 28th and will include everyone from police officers to community groups to victims' families. The feds and the city are negotiating specific reforms to change what the report called a culture of aggression by APD. Meanwhile, a citizens group organized to hold the police department accountable held another meeting at a Northeast Heights church last night. They're talking about things like recalling the mayor, grand jury indictments, and non-violent civil disobedience. About 100 people attended the meeting. They're planning a big turnout at Monday's city council meeting.
Well, 6:05, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, on this Good Friday, hundreds, even thousands of folks here in New Mexico are going to make the annual trek up Tomei Hill to show their faith.
And it's a tough one. The top of the hill is a spot for prayer, drawing people from all over the state, young and old. We sent News 13's Samantha McDonald out there. Samantha, what are you seeing out there?
Well, Crystal, we've already seen a few people at the base of Tomei Hill. Many of those walkers are dedicating their journey to a loved one. These two Berlin 8th graders are walking in honor of family members in need. They plan on starting here at St. Mary's Catholic School, and once they get to Tomei Hill, they will walk the steep 2-mile trip to the top, where there are 3 crosses. It's a tough climb, but it's worth it for them. Carly Teos says she will say a prayer for her grandfather, who is recovering from a heart transplant.
It's a sacrifice to say thanks, really. Thanks for saving his life. Thank you for that heart. Thank you for everything that we've had these past years.
And Garrett Moore will say a prayer for his cousins, one who suffers from seizures and the other with Down syndrome.
I'll ask him to help him in the future, and for my other cousin not to have seizures, and help my other cousin so he can learn how to talk again, and no one will make fun of him, no one will accept him.
While everyone makes their journey, law enforcement will be out here patrolling to make sure everyone stays safe, and orange barrels will be placed on both sides of Tomei Hill Road for a couple of blocks. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Samantha. Now, officers are also reminding walkers to wear reflective clothing, and drivers should be wary of the walkers around that area.
All right, some sad news on this Good Friday. The owner and founder of Garcias Kitchen has passed away. He started as a traveling salesman selling novelties at the state fair. Then Andrew Garcia eventually moved into operating food booths. In 1975, he opened the very first Garcias Kitchen at 4th and Mountain here in Albuquerque. Today, there are 8 Garcias all around town. Andrew Garcia was 90 years old. His legacy is going to live on. People love his restaurants.
Very good food there.
All right.